Hey, it's Whitney, and welcome to the Whitney Way podcast, your roadmap to selling digital products and building passive income. Whether you're just getting started or you're ready to scale, I'm here to give you motivation and actionable strategies to build your online business on your own terms. Let's dive in. One of the most debated topics in the online business space is whether you should niche down or stay broad. You'll hear some people say niche down as much as possible, get super specific, and be the go-to person for one thing. And then you'll hear other people say, no, stay broad. Don't box yourself in. Give yourself room to explore. I think they're both right, and they're both wrong. Because here's what I've learned about my own journey. It's not about choosing one or the other. It's about understanding what stage you're at and what actually makes sense for your business. So today I want to share my experience with this, what I've learned, and hopefully give you some clarity on what might work for you. So let me start by telling you about my first attempt at niching down. Back in 2013, I started a website about parrot care. Super niche, right? It's very specific. And I thought that I was doing the right thing. I thought, okay, I'm going to be the parrot care expert. I'm going to help people with their parrots. There's got to be a need for this because I had a need for this. But here's what I learned. Just because something is niche doesn't mean that there's an actual market for it. So I thought that there was a need, but it turned out at that time there really wasn't, or at least not the way that I was trying to serve it. So that taught me something really important. Niche doesn't automatically equal success. You still need to make sure that there's an actual demand for what you're offering. But that experience also taught me that I didn't want to stay in that tiny niche forever. I had other interests and other things that I wanted to teach and talk about. So that's when I started questioning this whole niche down advice. So here's what I believe now, and this is based on over a decade of trying different things, seeing what actually works. I think you can start broad and niche down to build momentum and clarity, and then expand your niche once you have an audience. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. So when you're first starting, it's okay to be a little bit broad because you're still figuring things out. You're testing content and you're seeing what resonates. You're learning who your audience actually is. Then you don't have to have it all figured out on day one. But at some point, you need to niche down enough to get clear on your messaging. Because if you're trying to talk to everyone, then you're really not talking to anyone. You need to be able to say, I help this type of person do this specific thing. That clarity makes your marketing so much easier. It makes your content way more focused, and it helps people understand what you're about and whether you're the right person for them. But the thing is, once you build an audience and once you have people who trust you and are following you, then you can expand. You can introduce new topics and you can evolve and grow beyond that initial niche. Because at that point, people aren't just following you for the niche, they're following you for you. For me, I started with digital products as my focus. That was my niche. I help people create and sell digital products. But as I built my audience, I realized that they wanted more than just tactical advice. They wanted mindset content, and they wanted to hear about my journey. They wanted to know the tools that I use and how I balance work and life and how I deal with burnout. So I expanded, and I'm still expanding. So I still talk about digital products because that's the core of my business, but I also talk about entrepreneurship, mindset, sustainable business building, all of it. And my audience is okay with it because they're not just here for the niche. They're here for the perspectives, the values, and the way that I approach things. So that's the journey. Start broad enough to explore, then niche down to build, and then once you have an audience, you can expand a little bit more. Now let's talk about the common fears around this because they're real. So fear number one is if I niche down, then I'll lose potential customers. And I get this one because you think if I only talk to moms who want to start digital product businesses, then I'm excluding everyone else. But the reality is when you try to talk to everyone, you don't connect deeply with anyone. The people who are most likely to buy from you are the ones who feel like you're speaking directly to them. And you can only really do that if you're specific. So yes, you might exclude some people by niching down, but the people that you do attract will be way more engaged and way more loyal and a lot more likely to buy. Fear number 2 is if you stay broad, you won't stand out. And this one is also true. If you're too broad, then you'll blend in with everyone else. If your messaging is just, I help people make money online, okay, well, so does everyone else. So what makes you different? And here's what I've learned. You can be broad in your topics, but specific in your voice and perspective. You can talk about a lot of different things, but the way that you talk about them and the value that you bring, that lens that you look through is what makes you stand out. Now, fear number 3 is, what if I choose the wrong niche? This fear actually keeps a lot of people stuck forever because they're so afraid of picking the wrong one that they just don't pick anything at all. But here's what I want you to know. You're not married to your niche. You can change it and you can evolve and pivot as needed. I've pivoted multiple times, and every time I learned something that made the next iteration better. So don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to get it just right. Just pick something and start, and you will figure it out as you go. Let me give you a quick framework for thinking about this. Step 1 is to start by identifying a problem that you can solve. Not just any problem, but a problem that you've actually solved for yourself or that you have real experience with. That's your starting point. Step 2 is to get specific about who has this problem. Not everyone has this problem, but a specific type of person does. What stage are they at? What are they struggling with? What do they want? The more specific you can be here, the easier your marketing will be. Step 3 is to test your messaging. So start creating content for that specific person. Talk about that one specific problem and see what resonates. You'll know pretty quickly if you're on the right track because people will engage. They'll comment and they'll say, this is exactly what I needed to hear. And step 4, once you have traction, you can expand. Don't expand too fast, but make sure you've built a solid foundation first. You want to be known for something before you start being known for everything. And step number 5 is to stay true to your values and your perspective even as you expand. That's what keeps your audience with you. It's not the niche itself, but it's the way that you show up and the things that you stand for. So here's my take on this whole niche down versus stay broad debate. You need enough focus to build momentum and clarity, but you also need enough flexibility to grow and evolve. So make sure you don't niche so far down that you feel trapped, but don't stay so broad that no one actually knows what you're about. You need to find that sweet spot and be specific enough to stand out. For me, my niche isn't just digital products. It's helping people build sustainable, authentic businesses that give them freedom without hustle culture. That's broad enough to cover a lot of topics, but it's specific enough that you know what I'm all about. So if you're stuck on this question, here's what I want you to do. Pick a starting point. Get specific enough to create clear, focused content. Build your audience, and then give yourself permission to evolve. You don't have to have your entire business figured out right now. You just need to know your next step. And remember, your niche can change. Your business can grow, and you can pivot. The only thing you can't do is stay stuck in indecision forever. So pick something, start, and trust that you'll figure it out as you go, because I know you will. That's what I learned from over a decade of trying different things. Start broad enough to explore, niche down to build. Expand once you have an audience. And always stay true to yourself no matter how your niche evolves. If this was helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe button because I share a lot about building a digital product business in a real and sustainable way. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode gave you value, I'd love if you'd share it with a creator friend who needs to hear this. And if you're ready to dive deeper, head over to whitneystokes.com and take my free quiz, which will show you which digital product you should start selling first. Or if you're ready to go further, check out my course, The Passive Income Playbook, where I walk you through everything from mindset to making your first sale. I'll see you in the next episode.